it is coming or not. I think we are live.
Okay. So,
Yes, we are.
okay, I think we can go ahead then. So I'll start with a short introduction of our speaker. And so today I'm really, really happy to announce that we have Prarthana Mazumdar with us today. And on behalf of I welcome you to this session here. And we are all looking forward to it. So Prarthana is the founder of the Dutch sustainable lifestyle brand Dzukou, and I'll give a little more information about her before I let her take over for her talk. So she is also a part-time PhD candidate in design from IIT Guwahati. She was born and brought up in Guwahati. She did her schooling from St. Mary's in Guwahati and then joined Cotton College before she joined IIT Guwahati in the mechanical engineering program. And after graduation, she went to Stanford to do a master's in aerospace and aeronautics. And then she worked at Apple Inc. for 2.5 years. And I think that's when she fell in love with design, and she decided to go for a PhD in design. And she had joined the Technische Universiteit Delft in Netherlands. And that's when she met her co-founder, right? Lars Hogewerf. And then Prarthana decided to move her PhD to IIT Guwahati, and now continuing her PhD from IIT Guwahati. And, I can see from her bio that she is the best person to, give us like an experience talk about all the different aspects she has, encountered and different things she has done. And it's like, she'll have a lot of things to talk about, a lot of different, angles. And but for today's talk, the title of the talk is How to Design a Brand, Start a Global Company, and Decide When to Go for Investments. And I'm really, personally, I'm really looking forward to this. And I will I'll let Prarthana take over, and I'll probably intervene if there is a question that, if someone asks or anything like that. So, Prarthana, you can, I'll let you take over from here.
Thank you, Pamir, for such a nice introduction. And I want to say hello to everyone and thank you for coming on a weekend to attend a talk like this. The talk today is about how to start a company, design a brand, and go global. And I really hope that I'm able to deliver a good talk that feels worth the time on a weekend. First, I'm going to introduce myself shortly. Pamir has already done it. So as she mentioned that I am the founder at a sustainability lifestyle brand called Dzukou. In Dzukou, I look over marketing, design, and product strategy. I am also a part-time PhD candidate, and my research focuses on design for emerging economies like India, China, Bangladesh, and South Africa. The organizers of this talk said that it would be nice if I discuss a bit about my background and how I arrived at this point from where I came from. Like she said, I was born and brought up in Guwahati. I went to Stanford, saw the whole startup world in Silicon Valley, got really fascinated. And then I worked at Apple, which is basically famous for its good design, or where you really get a lot of exposure to good design. That's when I decided that I want to explore design. But being from an engineering background, you don't have sufficient wholesome view to be a designer. And to get that, I wanted to be a PhD in design. I moved to Holland and started a PhD program. But I cannot always say, or it will be lying if I say that my career was always a cakewalk. There were glitches, and one of them happened in my PhD, which is very common for all PhDs around the world to have a problem. So I decided to move my PhD to India and at the same time do something that I'm really passionate about, which is start a company. So I restarted my PhD in India and then also started the company Dzukou in 2019 end. In this talk, okay, so here's one thing. It will be a big injustice if I talk about Dzukou without mentioning my co-founder, Lars Hogever. He is a serial entrepreneur. He is an architect. He's a very good best friend of mine, and he's a backbone of our company. And he specifically said that I should mention his name. So here's him, and that's us in Munich. Enjoy. Before we started our company, of course. All right. So the topic of this discussion is going to be how to start or design a brand and make the company go global with minimum investments possible. Now, I'm going to discuss each point in a piecemeal manner. And if you have any questions, there's, as Pamir mentioned, there's a Q&A session at the end where you can ask your questions and I'll be happy to answer them. Doesn't even have to be in the scope of this talk. You can ask anything about my company, my research, or even myself. I'll be happy to answer. So to start with the first part, designing a brand. So when you first start a company or you want to start a brand, there are three questions that you need to ask. What do I want to make and sell? Who do I want to sell to? And what story am I going to tell to people? The first question, what do I want to make and sell? This is the identity question of yourself as the founder. Basically, what do I want to do the rest of my life? Or not, maybe not the rest of your life, but a significant part of your life. What are you so passionate about that you are going to spend sleepless nights and days working day and night? So what is it that keeps you ticking? You really need to sit back and think what makes you passionate enough. So when I started my brand in 2019, I took a step back and started first, like, what is it that makes me tick? What am I so passionate about? First of all, I'm really passionate about material experimentation. I am in general a very experimental sort of person. I really like breaking and making stuff. I especially love experimenting with materials and coming up with new materials and stuff. Then I'm really passionate about sustainability, and my research as a whole revolves around sustainability. So that's a really big cause for me that I really am concerned about. And third thing, I'm really a lifestyle and well-being kind of person. Especially I worked at Apple, which is a big lifestyle company more than a tech company. So these are three things that I came up that I'm really passionate about, that areas where I want to work. So from here on, I'm going to make my brand identity. So this is what I want to do. These are things that make me passionate. So what is my brand going to be about, basically? So of course, my brand has to be a sustainable lifestyle brand because I'm passionate about sustainability and lifestyle brands. My brand is going to have factory-made products with clean materials. But at the same time, it's also going to experiment with new eco materials because I really love material exploration. My brand is going to replace plastics. My brand is going to make eco materials into consumer goods and everyday goods so that people don't feel the need for plastics anymore. And I'm going to work with craftsmen in Northeast India. And now I'm not specific to Northeast India, but logistically it's more convenient for me to be in Northeast because I'm based out of here. But I really love working with craftsmen. If you notice, craftsmen work a lot with eco materials from their environment. But you will also notice that they don't really experiment with the materials. They just use it how it has been used for generations and generations. Now, I had a really big fascination towards those materials, and I wanted to see how we can tinker and change it, make new materials, make new craft identities. So this was going to be our brand identity. Having answered the question, what we are going to make and sell, the next question is, who do I want to sell to? Now, who is going to be my target audience, or who is going to be my target buyer? To be honest, you cannot make a blind decision as to who the target buyer is going to be. There's a lot of logistics behind. And for us, we were headquartered in Holland because my co-founder is Dutch. He lives in Delft. Our office is in Delft. So it made a lot of sense to focus on West Europe. There are other points also that makes West Europe a very good marketplace for us. People in West Europe have more purchasing power. Some of the richest countries are there. Since we are trying to be a lifestyle brand, we definitely need to take into consideration purchasing power of people. More sustainability awareness. Holland is probably one of the most sustainability-minded countries in the world. People in general as a consumer base have very high level of sustainability consciousness in West Europe. And last of all, West Europe is also super conscious to good design. They really like well-made designs products. So like India is a price sensitive market, you can say that West Europe is very design sensitive. So in all, taking into all logistical factors, like we thought that West Europe is probably the best market to target at the moment. It was also very closely contesting against US or Canada as a market, which also have a very high purchasing power parity. But since we are based out of Holland, we focused on West Europe. All right, so now we know we want to sell to West Europe, but what is our brand persona? Who's that buyer? What are we going to sell as? What should we look like, basically? So we are in West Europe, and we know that sustainability consciousness is quite a new thing. It's people in the young age, for instance, from 25 to 40 or 45 years of age that relate to such issues a lot or such concerns a lot. So we said that, okay, this is our consumer segment, 25 to 30 or 40 years of age, and people who are a bit hipsterish, people who relate to issues like sustainability, slow fashion, and good design and all that. So this is going to be our brand persona. This is actually, these models are actually our models who are wearing our sunglasses. Next. Now you know.
Yes? Just one second, I'll interrupt you before you move on to the next slide.
Yes.
Do you want me to ask the questions as they come, or do you want me to wait till the end of the talk?
I think I would answer them at the end because I think if I...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay.
Thank you. All right. So now you know your target consumer, but it is not enough to find the target consumer. It is also important to understand them. What tools do I use to understand our target consumer? First of all, I did a lot of market ethnographic studies. Now, what is market studies? I basically went to the market, went to stores, went to all stores, not just this kind of stores that interest us, but all lifestyle stores. I took a phone camera with me and clicked pictures and studied. What are the colors that are going hot? What are the kind of designs? What are the products people buying? What products are they paying more for? Are made in India products high in demand? All sorts of questions. So basically you have to use our analytical skills on all things you see in the markets. Then I also use user interviews. Now what is user interview? Since our target user is from say 25 to 40 years of age, we kind of invited friends in this age group to come and talk to us. Discuss what their lifestyle is about, discuss what they like, what they don't like, and I don't know what their daily behavior is like. So lots of people came in. We conducted around probably 15 or 20 of user interviews. But in these user interviews and market studies, we made sure that we were really open-minded, that we are not just seeing things that we want to see. For instance, if we are trying to be a coffee brand, we are not just asking people, hey, what coffee do you drink? Do you like your coffee dark, medium, or light? We ask them everything, like when do you wake up? What things do you do in the morning? When do you do your coffee breaks? What do you do when you go to a cafe? So it's basically more of a lifestyle study than just a user-centered test or user-centered study of a product. In that way, we got a lot of insights. Till that point of time, we actually didn't know what products we are going to sell. But from all these studies, we got a big hint of what products we should be going into, basically. And that happened only because we were open-minded enough. All right. Now we know what we want to do. We know who our target user is. We know what our target user likes, dislikes, and all that. Now, what story are we going to tell to them? We cannot tell them the back-end story that, yeah, we are working in a lab to bring out new materials. Yeah, we want to sell lifestyle products to you because I worked at Apple. Those things people don't want to hear. People want to hear a nice story, basically. So how do I wrap up everything that I want to do and everything they like into a coherent story? So for Dzukou, we decided to make the story like this. We are a brand that replaces plastics with clean eco materials. People in West Europe are super conscious about plastic, especially there is a regulation now that bans all kinds of one-time plastics, I guess. These are causes that people relate to, and you need to wrap up your story in terms that they relate to, actually. We work with craftsmen in Northeast India for premium handmade products. We skip the part where we say that we work with material exploration and stuff, but we rather say that we make really high quality products, made in India products for you. That's also because made in India products, handmade products are super high demand in the West. And lastly, we also say that we create awareness about plastic pollution in India. They know that countries like India and China have a big plastic pollution or in general pollution problem. So we say that we create awareness amongst the young people about the pollution problem in India. We also show them ways in which they could reduce pollution and use plastics for recycling and stuff. So these are pointers in which people can relate to. People wouldn't relate to if you tell them that, yeah, I'm an engineer who wants to work backend in the lab and make new materials. They don't relate to it. All right. So now we know basically who we are, what we want to do, whom we are selling to, what story we are going to tell. But there are a couple of more points that you need to keep in mind. You need to have a consistent brand language. Now, what is a brand language? It's all the colors and fonts and feel that you use, and you always have to make sure that you're consistent with it. If we are trying to be a Dutch brand, we always have to use that sort of colors, that sort of, feel, like that minimal feel or clean feel, and we cannot, digress a lot from it. So this is something you always have to remember, even as founders. All the communication material you will design will have to have a certain format. Then founders over companies. Now this is a super important point. Before, if I mention names like Bloomingdale's and Macy's or I don't know, any big company, any big brand, Crate and Barrel for instance, you wouldn't be able to tell me who the founders are. But those days are history now. Nowadays, brands are known by the founders. Say I tell you PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, what is the connection? You immediately know Elon Musk is the connection. Elon Musk is individually more famous than all these three things together. So tomorrow Elon Musk starts a company, nobody is going to bother about the company that much, but they are going to be more fascinated that Elon Musk is opening it. So you have to always keep in mind when you open a company nowadays that you as your founder also need your branding. You need to be visible in different platforms. You need to have community with your people. You need to express your views and opinions in a way that helps you build your brand. This is a really new thing. I'll be happy to answer questions at the end, like I mentioned, but we'll move on. All right. So now you have designed your brand. You know what story you are telling. You have also branded yourself as a founder. Now you started business, you're selling, you want to grow. You want to become a global company. And by global company, I don't mean that your products are reaching every corner of the world, like in, I don't know, Russia or South Africa or everywhere. Basically, if you expand beyond your geographical borders and go into new and new markets, that's basically what I mean by becoming global slowly. Typically, marketing theory would tell you to not go into a new market unless you have really exploited one market. For instance, say Nirma. Nirma makes soaps. Nirma is making a new neem soap, and now it tries to market it in Kerala, in South India. What Nirma should ideally be doing is to beat the shit out of Kerala before going into Karnataka or Tamil Nadu. That's what marketing knowledge basically tells us. But what happens is that in a startup, you can't really stick to the rule book. You have to do things that are opportunistic and quite contextual, on the go. You have to make decisions on the go that brings you money. In our case, as soon as we started our company, the COVID-19 pandemic hit us. And it was a big shock to the system. Not just our sales were like this. It would take off and fall, take off and fall. It was annoying as hell because we couldn't plan anything. Our supply chains were disrupted, and then we would hire people and have to fire them. It was quite annoying. But fortunately, what we noticed was that the COVID-19 curves in different parts of the world were out of phase, like 180-degree out of phase. So if you notice how COVID-19 waves came in Europe and India, they were like out of phase by 180 degrees. So when COVID-19 would rise in Europe, India would see a trough. When COVID-19 would fall in Europe, India would see a rise. So we had to digress a bit from the marketing knowledge we had, and we decided that, okay, we are going to start sales in 2 markets, though it's counterintuitive to what marketing will tell us. We decided to do it in India and Europe. So when India sales take off, Europe sales fall. When Europe sales take off, India sales fall. On an average, we are a bit more or less stable. The point of showing this point is because I want to show that as founders in a company, you probably a lot of the times you have to think out of the box. You cannot think in what the textbook is teaching you or what other people have done. You have to do things that is completely contextual to your company and to your needs. So you have to be your own textbook of some sort. All right. So now you have decided that you want to expand beyond your geographical borders. Of course, you have to be prepared for it now. What is crucial for a brand when they become global or when they start shipping globally? First of all is transparency. This is the single most important thing that you will need as a brand. A brand and trust. These two words are just like bread and butter. They go hand in hand. Now, when you try to go global, you have to make sure you talk about the co-founders. You talk about where your headquarters are, where your production is going on. How are you shipping? Are you employing child labor? Are you employing women? All sorts of details. You need to be transparent and answerable for everything. Second thing is a well-designed website. As a brand, and most brands around the world will tell you the same today, that initial sales never happen through a website. A website is actually quite a big white elephant that you are going to have in the beginning. It takes a lot of money, a lot of maintenance, and no sales come in from the website. But it is essential to have a website, because even if people see you somewhere, they are going to Google and check whether you are online. They are going to check your credibility as a brand. And as a new brand, you really need to establish that you are a credible person. So you have to have a well-designed website. The better the design, the better it is for you. Good user interface and user experience. Your website should not give any kind of problem to the user. There should be seamless navigation. Navigation should be easy. Figuring out everything should be easy. Checkout should be easy. Checkout should have minimum steps. All those things. Crisp product descriptions and highlighting the USPs. You need to talk about your products. You need to talk about in a very nice and crisp manner. People are not going to invest a lot of time reading about your products. You need to capture their attention probably within 5 seconds. You also need to highlight your USPs. For instance, we have a lot of sunglasses at the moment. We need to highlight in very quick steps that they are UV protecting, they are natural fiber made, they are lightweight, they are sweat resistant, they are very high performance, everything. So make sure that you talk about your USPs of all the products. Secure payment system. You have to tell or assure your customers that your payment system is secure, that you're using a good secure payment system partner. This is super crucial because there's, of course, like with a global brand, there is a big fear that the card details might be leaked or, I don't know, fraud might happen, something like that. You really need to assure. That's one of the biggest trust issues that people have with new brands, actually, the payment system. So the more assurance you can give to people that your payment system is secure, the better the chances are that you will convert. Privacy policy, super crucial for Western Europe market especially. What are you doing with the data that you're collecting? Are you giving it to third parties? Are you using any cookies in your website? All those sorts of things. I mean, you can distribute data. It's not like you cannot, but you need to make it clear to the people. They should have the option that they switch off sharing data. Especially if you're selling in Western markets, especially Europe. Data privacy is a big issue there, so you need to make clear everything. Return and shipping policy, another important thing. If you are sending products from Europe around the world, how are you going to ship it and how are you going to pick up the returns? If somebody sends a gift to, say, Australia or New Zealand, how are you going to ship it? What is your policy? What is the free shipping rate? I mean, say you say America, $100 above, we give free shipping. All those things need to be clearly mentioned everywhere and visible everywhere. Customer service. You need to give good customer service, of course, returns, processing returns and everything. You need to answer all their questions. They might ask really stupid questions that also you will have to answer. You have to be there as a face. And lastly, the team. This is the super crucial thing about going global. Is your team able to handle a global scale operations? Is your team competent enough to answer questions globally? Is your team able to manufacture or produce marketing material for a global level audience? If your team is not equipped enough, then probably you need to hire somebody who is, or probably you need to train your team to be equipped enough in different aspects. All right. Now that you have made a decision, you have also fixed your website, you have fixed your team, you have hired the right people, now you're all set to go global. What things do you need to think technically? First of all is your inventory. Where is your inventory going to be located? Today, in this modern day, one of the biggest needs for people is that same-day delivery probably. It's also made more competitive by things like Amazon Prime. Your stuff needs to be delivered within 2 days max probably. I don't know. You need to be clear when it's going to be delivered. So you need to pick a location for your inventory from which fast shipping can happen. In our case, we have 2 inventories globally. We have one in Holland and we have one in India. Now, the Holland inventory ships to all global orders. Even if there is an order from, say, Singapore or Hong Kong, which is super close to India, we ship it from Holland. Now, there's a reason behind it. In India, for everything you export, you need to do a lot of paperwork and you need to submit a fee to the bank. We want to escape all that paperwork, so we easily ship it from Holland. Our India inventory, on the other hand, does all the fulfillment for Indian orders. So we basically strategically put our inventory in 2 places. Then you need to think about your supply chain. Is your supplier going to directly ship to the inventory? Is your supplier going to directly ship to a B2B customer? Say a big B2B customer places a humongous order. Do you want to receive it and ship it, or do you want the supplier to directly ship it? So you need to do all those calculations and optimizations. You need to pick up the fastest route. You need to pick up the cheapest route. You need to pick up the safest route. There might also be limitations. For instance, right now there's a war going on in Ukraine. So a lot of train connections from, say, Southeast Asia to Europe, which goes through Kazakhstan and Ukraine, are disrupted. So at the moment, we have to say that, okay, we're going to take the sea route and get our products shipped at Greece, probably a Greek port. So you need to rethink your supply chain. Say you are sending handmade products from India. Exporting from India is a big hassle. So how do I make a bulk and send it at one go? You have to strategize in that way. Shipping and packaging. Big concern. Who are going to be your shipping partners? Say for us, for global shipping, we partner with PostNL and DPD, who are really reliable partners, by the way. And for India, we partner with India Post and DTDC and Delivery, I guess, and even eCart for Flipkart. So definitely reliability is a big factor. Also, you have to see that your delivery partner basically is reachable by the customers. Say delivery has to be rescheduled and all that, then customers don't have problems connecting with the delivery guy and all that. Those are really, we got such feedback from customers that I was not able to reach the delivery guy. So you want to make sure you have a responsible delivery partner. Also, the delivery partner should be able to pick up stuff back in case there's a refund or return policy. In our case with India Post, we have this big problem. We have India Post because India Post is the only delivery partner that delivers to all disturbed areas in India, like Imphal or Nagaland or Kashmir or somewhere. But they don't have a return and picking policy. So in case somebody wants to return from Kashmir, we don't know how to do it yet. Packaging. For us, we are plastic-free packaging. It's very easy to do it with PostNL and DPD from Europe and ship it all over the world. But within India, we have a lot of manhandling. So we have to make our packages waterproof, shock resistant, because we have also seen cases where our products were damaged during transit. To make a product or a parcel waterproof without using plastic packaging is super difficult. And we have to do it in India. So you need to figure out your packaging details also. You might need to put in other packaging stuff like booklets, pamphlets, or postcards or stuff to make your customers happy, to give them a good unboxing experience, basically. You also need to make sure that your package looks pretty at some point. So packaging design is a big concern for companies. Though packaging looks like the most dispensable part of your product, packaging design is actually a big part for companies. Customer service. You are going to have to provide customer service all around the world. Somebody from America asks you questions, wants you to process a return, you have to do it. Since you are now shipping globally. Are you equipped enough for that? You need to be prepared for that. Marketing and advertisement. This is a very interesting point that I wanted to discuss, and probably will also have a lot of discussion on it. So for all different markets, what they relate to is very different. What American markets relate to is very different than what Indian market or European market relates to. So your whole marketing and advertisement campaign has to be country specific. And it takes a lot of resources and money from companies to do that, but it's, unavoidable. You just have to do it. In our case, for instance, when we first opened Dzukou, of course, we could not afford models and stuff. So we had a lot of freelancer Indian models do it for us for free. But what we notice is that people in Europe did not relate to the Indian models. They like the website, they like the models, but they just didn't feel confident that something that an Indian model is wearing will look good on me. So we had to again include European models. Similar goes for advertisement. Instagram ads work in India, they don't work at all in Europe. People just don't like to buy products from Instagram ads in Europe. Also for India, we notice that word of mouth operates more. Indian people in general are more talkative, share more. Oh, these sunglasses I'm wearing, they're really nice and comfy. You can also buy it. That sort of, And Indians are also easily influenceable. So our whole marketing strategy has to be different in India. Versus in the West, what we notice is that people don't talk that much about products. But if you go on their e-com platforms and place advertisements for your products, that works better. You might, as a brand, not be equipped enough to know what each market wants. It comes with a little bit of testing and iteration. So you test something, it works, you continue with it. If it doesn't work, you end it. We started Instagram ads in Europe, didn't work, we cut it off. We started Flipkart ads in India, working well, we are promoting it. So it's a bit of a testing and iteration program. Also, in your marketing, you have to understand that cross-culturally people have different behavior. What we noticed is that in Europe, people are more store buyers. They like to go to cafes, sit in the sun, go to a boutique store and buy stuff. So we have to be in stores in Europe. Versus in India, what we notice is that they like to buy from Flipkart and Amazon a lot. So we have to be in Flipkart and Amazon. So our marketing channel also kind of differs a bit from country to country. Now this year we are planning to go to US. We will have a whole different marketing channels and advertisement program for US. Say we might see that US is more Amazon buying, so we might focus on Amazon Prime there. Then your product mix. Different demographics want different kind of products. Say in India, the hottest products are lunch boxes and water bottles. People really want us to upgrade and bring 1 liter water bottles because it's super hot here and people like to drink more. In Europe, we see that handmade products sell more. In India, sunglasses sell more because it's a sunny country. So you will have to differentiate your product mixes in different countries. In your inventory, you have to put preferentially those products that sell more. You can make some anticipations. I mean, it's easy to anticipate that in India, sunglasses will sell more. It's quite sunny outside. Also, it's easy to anticipate that the handmade soles, which are super expensive and premium, might sell more in UK, Germany, and France, where people have consciousness of those kind of products. So you can have some anticipation, but at the same time, it's not so easy to predict. That's why companies invest so much in demand and supply estimation. There are things that you will also learn as you go. You put the product, it's performing well, you just increase inventory. If it's not performing well, decreases inventory. That's it. So there's also a little bit of iteration and testing over there. All right, now that you have decided to go global, you have prepared everything, you have your delivery partners and everybody in place, how do you decrease your investments? First of all is focus on the marketing channel. Pick out the cheapest channels. Now for us in Europe, for instance, it is better if we go in stores. But we opened in 2019 when travel was banned between India and Europe. I couldn't be in Europe pitching from store to store, talking to managers that please put our products on your shelves. So we had to pick up a cheaper channel. We picked up Bol.com, which is a super hot e-com platform in Europe. And our products sell the most through Bol.com right now. Though it's not the most ideal channel, we had to pick it because it was the cheapest channel at the moment. Fastest pickup marketing channel. Some channels pick up faster than other channels. For new brands, you will always notice that e-commerce platforms like Amazon, Etsy, Flipkart, these pick up way faster than your website or even your stores program. Stores come in later, I guess. So you want to focus more in the beginning, you want to pump more energy into those platforms. Make sure that before investing a lot on your website and all, you have put all your products online in different e-com platforms because they are going to pick up faster. Not necessarily that they are going to be the most profitable in the long run because every e-com platform will charge a big commission in between. So in the long run, you need to invest in your website where there is no commission in between. So you need to do a lot of organic marketing and search engine optimization to actually divert traffic from e-commerce platforms and stores into your website. So that's a long-term strategy. But in the short-term strategy, focus on things that will pick up really fast. Easiest customer acquisition. Different markets have different customer acquisition rates. Now, India is a humongous market, as we all know. Size is about, I don't know, 1.37 billion or something. US is a comparatively way smaller market. Population is only 300 billion. But the thing about US is that customer acquisition in US is easily 5 times easier than the Indian market. And you might as well focus on a market where customer acquisition costs you way less than a market where it will cost you way more. Maybe in the long run, India will be way more profitable, but just that setting the foot in India and taking off is harder. So you might want to focus on a market where it's easier for you to set foot. Product mix and inventory management. Of course, these are things that you have to look into. As I said, you can always design your product mix in a way that initial investments are lower. Focus on products that need lesser investment, are hotter, do not have long shelf lives. Do not have short shelf lives. As a startup, you don't want products that expire fast because there is no guarantee when you're going to be able to sell it. If they expire faster than you can sell it, you are basically incurring a big cost. So you want to reduce cost. Make your product mix in a way that you're putting minimum investment and minimum risk in it. And also consider shipping. Shipping will easily cost you the highest. Sometimes your shipping costs are more than the product cost. So you want to optimize it in a way that the volume is low or weight is low. Up to you. I mean, it depends from context to context. Differential advertisement, like I always said, different channels, different advertisement work in different markets. You have to design advertisement material accordingly. Labor division, super important. What tasks are you going to do in which market? Now we have Holland and India. We have an office in Holland, we have an office in India. Where is it cheaper to get more stuff done? Now some things have to be done from Holland, like shipping and all that, like shipping, globally shipping is way cheaper from Holland. So we do all of it from Holland. But back-end stuff like website maintenance, search engine optimization, digital marketing, all those stuff are way better and cheaper if we do it in India. So we do it in India. So we have outsourced those to Indian market. Second is hiring of third parties. Now there is a big dilemma that most startup people find. Should I do it myself and save the money, or should I hire a third party to do it and invest money? I usually do it in a way, I make the decision easier for me in a way that I always consider this. If I invest 2 hours in this, and if I invest 2 hours in something else, where is it that I'm going to get higher returns? If I invest 2 hours here, there's an opportunity cost to it. I'm not doing something else at that point of time. If doing that is more crucial, I should outsource this thing to a third party and do that. So you should always think in terms of opportunity costs as a startup founder. Your time has a lot of value. You have a lot of experience and expertise, which has a big value. Probably doing something as dumb as packaging might not be a good utilization of your skills and talents. Might just want to hire somebody for that and do something more productive. That's one way I do the calculation. And the other way I do the calculation is that if it takes me 10 hours to do the thing and it takes 2 hours for the third party to do the thing, probably good to invest in the third party and get it done fast. Because time has money. Time is money in a company. So these are two conditions in which I evaluate whether I should outsource or not. One is opportunity cost and one is time value. Then the last two are technical things. Fulfillment company. You cannot be physically present in all markets where you are selling. There are fulfillment companies to do the shipping for you, like Amazon Fulfillment, for instance. This not many people know of. You can build inventory with Amazon or other fulfillment companies, and you can tell them exactly how you want them to ship the products for you. They will do the shipping for you. Of course, they will charge a commission, but it's easy when you're a startup and you cannot be physically present somewhere. If we want to start sales in US, it will probably cost me way less to hire Amazon as a fulfillment agent than to hire people in US to do my shipping. So fulfillment companies is one thing and forwarding companies is another thing. As a startup, import-export is a very hard business. And as a startup, you might find it very hard to do all the paperwork and all the shipping in, when you are exporting something. For instance, I want to export something. If I want to do it as a company right now, I have to go to a port like Kolkata or Ahmedabad and take a container which probably asks for 10,000 kgs of goods. And then I have to send it, do a lot of paperwork and all that. It's not ideal for me. Not even possible. I wouldn't even say ideal. It's not possible for me. So what I will do is go to a forwarding company. There are lots of forwarding companies even in India, all around the world, that do all of that for you. And since they are doing it in bulk, they can also optimize your shipments. So even if you have a very small box that you want to export to Europe, they will do it for you. Of course, they'll charge a commission for it. But it's a super convenient way for small companies. When bigger companies do it, they do it in bulk. They themselves go to the port, they themselves hire a container and do it. Costs them way less. They skip all the commission. But for small companies, I think forwarding companies is a real savior. So if you're ever going to import-export business, I think fulfillment companies and forwarding companies are two things you should really look at. All right. Okay, the last part of this talk deals about finance, and actually which is the most important thing for any startup. Finances, how much money you are making, how much you can spend is basically will determine everything that you do in a startup. So it's the super crucial point that I'm going to discuss at the last. It's also a bit technical. You can have questions which I'll answer later. All right, when anybody starts a company, everybody wants to bootstrap. What is bootstrapping? Supporting your own company by your own means, your own savings or your parental savings or somebody else's savings, I don't know, but somehow you are sustaining it yourself. And every startup founder wants to do it. Everybody wants to bootstrap. So what are some of the ways in which you can bootstrap? First of all, you can have a business model that supports bootstrapping, or that can be supported by bootstrapping, I should say. Say, for instance, in our business model, we want to sell eco products, but we also want to do material exploration. Now, material exploration is risky, and we don't know what the outcome will be. It might also involve huge investments. So that is something we will delay to a later stage. Right now, we will focus on easy things. What we are going to do to bootstrap is make our lives easier. Do the lowest investment things, lowest investment products. Put all the risky stuff for later stage. Not be idealistic and do dream stuff right now. Then your product mix. Like I said, you can always design your product mix in a way that your investment is low now and will increase gradually. Say all the small products that are hot, I focus on them right now. And all the products that need more investment, I will bring later. At the same time, you cannot always focus on cheap products. You also need some amount of good products to build your brand. For instance, for us, right now we have factory-made goods and handmade goods. Handmade goods are quite expensive. Factory-made goods are faster selling for us. But it is the handmade goods that actually make our brand a brand name. So we also have to focus on it. So when you are trying to build a brand, you cannot just always focus on the cheapest things, but you have to calculate it in a way that it helps you build a brand. Then your own strategy. Strategy does not just include timing of different things, like when I'm going to do this and when I'm going to do that. It also includes hiring, for instance. Who are you going to hire in the next 2 years? Who is going to do what? How much are you going to outsource? When are you going to bring external investors? Which market are you going to go into? All these things form a part of strategy. You can easily sit and make a strategy that reduces your costs significantly. If, for instance, for us, if we see that, okay, US market, we get a lot of website traffic from US market. Actually, the most website traffic we have is from US. So we need to gain traction there. At this moment, we need to focus on US, which probably will be easier for us to get into. So that's how we realign our strategy at each point to sustain ourselves. Our own savings. Now, at this moment, we are fueling everything with our own savings. So you need to sit back. This is something only you can answer. When you're financing your own company with your own savings, try not to hit the rock bottom. Try not to hit the bottom of your barrel. Try to have some amount of savings for your own urgent needs, like, I don't know, healthcare or your car breaks down or something like that. Cash flows. Like I said, try to focus on things that will bring in cash fast. Try to focus on things that will take off faster. Secure your inflows first and then try to focus on outflows. So timing of cash flows, that's super crucial. If you might have a big cash flow coming in 2 years. It's not the same as smaller cash flows coming continuously. You need to make sure that there is a consistent cash flow into the company. The free assets you can manage. So basically, free assets means anything that you can get for free, and really sounds unclassy when I say it. But yeah, when you're a startup, anything you can get for free, accept it. Don't let your ego come in the way. At the moment, we have a need for a fridge in our company, for instance, and instead of buying a new fridge, I actually picked out the fridge that I used in my undergrad like 16 years ago, which is like this much probably. Doesn't matter. I want to save that money and invest somewhere, probably in products. I want to do it for free. If you can get a table from your parents' house, if you can get a garage from your parents' house, use it. And maintain good relations with your parents because you'll get a lot of stuff from them, I think. The payments you can manage to defer. Another source of income, actually. Funnily, this is not something that people think of. The more you can defer payments to a stage where your cash flows are coming in, the better it is for you. Now, this is something I typically use. I go and talk to the supplier, I take their goods, and then I tell them that, okay, I'm going to pay you as soon as the sales come in. For this, you really need to maintain good relations with the suppliers. Try to be nice to them. They will do a lot for you, actually. And then if you can tell your landlord, okay, we are going to pay 60% of the rent for 3 months because we see a big cash flow coming in 3 months, and then we pay the rest of it then. He might agree, actually, if you have good relations with him. So these are things. Spending in outflows is also quite a useful way of like freeing up finances for your company. Grants and subsidies. Grants and subsidies are very nice things because you don't have to ever pay them back. And there are usually typically grants and subsidies. In India, if you're a micro and small scale industry, you have a lot of grants and subsidies under the MSME program of India. I have never used it, but I plan to use them in future. We are, on the other hand, going to apply for financing by the Dutch government, which basically gives you research grants if you're researching on eco-materials, and we are doing it. So we are going to take money from the Dutch government and spend it in working with craftsmen in India. It's really cool because you never have to pay them back, and government also doesn't ask you for reports that much. Not a cool thing to say, but yeah, that's how it is. All right, so now you have tried bootstrapping, you are doing everything to sustain yourself, your company. Next comes the point where you have been sustaining well, but right now you feel like, okay, a little bit extra money would be nice, or external financing would be nice. Actually, no founder wants to give away a share of their company for external financing. But this is a dilemma. This is a founder's dilemma that frequently comes, and you have to answer it in a very logical way. I look at it in a way as if like you want a bigger share of your pie or you want a bigger pie. That's the question I answer. For instance, you are a nice person and one day a genie comes to you and the genie tells you that I'm going to grant you a wish. I'm going to give you 100% return on investment if you are poor, and I'm going to give you a 5% return on investment if you are rich. Now you are poor and you have only, your stock capital is rupee 1. So you get 100% return on investment and the money that comes in your hand is another rupee 1. But you have decided to go to an investor and increase your stock capital to rupees 100. Now you get 5%. So 5% of rupees 100 is rupees 5. You get 5 rupees in your hand. Okay, now who cares what the genie gave you as percentages? People will care that either you have 1 rupee in your hand or you have 5 rupees in your hand. What makes sense? I mean, if you're logical enough, it's okay. Go with 5 rupees. That's what I would do. So I think control and the founders find this dilemma very intriguing because on one hand, you're losing control of your company, but on the other hand, you're also ramping up your company. And I think you need to set back your emotions and then think logically and make the right decision for the company. You have to grow it big in the long run. All right. So this is what a typical revenue curve looks for a company. You have started company XYZ at time t equal to 0. And then you have a big loss and then you go on for losses until you break even and then start becoming positive. Now that loss area is also called Valley of Tears. And it actually literally feels like Valley of Tears. It's very painful in that place. So if you don't have enough finances yourself, if you don't have enough savings, already when you are in the Valley of Tears, you will need investment. And if you have enough savings, probably you will navigate through Valley of Tears. And as soon as you are scaling up, that's when you will feel the need of capital. So depending on, as a founder, how much savings you have will determine the stage at which you will go for financing. For us, I think we are going to end our Valley of Tears in a little bit of time, happily. And then we will go in break-even point and then scale up. And I think we will need investments for scaling up. That's where we are at Dzukou. All right. So when is the point when you get clear indication that I need to go for external financing at this point? There are clear markers you get actually. And at Dzukou also, we are getting a lot of them. You are getting orders at a size that you are unable to fulfill because you cannot invest in inventory anymore. And that is something we constantly face at Dzukou. We have huge orders that we are unable to fulfill. We have to turn away customers because we don't have investment. And that's exactly why we are now trying to rush our investment process. You need to ramp up marketing. Marketing costs are the biggest cost that a company incurs. And as a young company, you will feel like the more you ramp up marketing, if you have hit the right channels, the more customers will come in. So it's like a vicious problem. It's like a chicken and egg problem. More money to generate more money. But you need to do it. So how do you get that money? Go to an investor. You need to enter into a new geographical market. Like I mentioned, we have a lot of traction in US market website traffic wise, but we don't have inventory in US. We need to build an inventory there, and we don't have the finances enough for it. You need to resize your inventory. Already in India and Holland, our sales are going up, and we need to increase our inventory. We cannot afford to go out of stock anywhere. The point about out of stock is that looks nice, looks like they're playing hard to get, but the truth about out of stock is that as soon as you hit out of stock, it's a signal that you're bad at inventory management. And then what e-commerce platforms and probably even Google does is to pull you down in search engine optimization. So you never want to go out of stock. It's a big loss for companies. So you need to ramp up if your sales are going up, that also means that you need to ramp up your inventory. So at that point, you might need the feel the need of investment. You need to expand your product line. You cannot constantly provide the same products to the same market. People want new and new stuff, even from brands. Like for instance, you are wearing Nike shoes today. You really want to see new Nike shoes next year subconsciously. You will not be happy if you're seeing the same Nike shoes say 10 years down the line. So Nike constantly has to increase its product line or bring in new product into its product line. And as a startup, this might be quite a challenge financially to expand your product line. And that's a point where you really need to think about external financing. You need money for experimental work. Experimental work is risky. There might be no outcome from it. So it's quite a risky venture, and you might not want to put in your own savings in experimental work. You can go and talk to financiers that listen, my background is engineering. I think I can do amazing work in the lab. I can turn out new materials. Are you willing to invest as much? And you'll be surprised. There'll be people who are willing to invest. So external financing, what are the sources? You have got the clear markers that you need to go to an external guy now. Who are the people you should turn to? So there's a clear pecking order in which you should go down. First is FFF. Friends, family, and fools. Always go to these people first because they will give you the friendliest of repayment terms. And as a startup, you really want that. Talk to your friends. Are you willing to lend me some money? I'm going to pay you in a year. Or something like that, or your family. They might even give you grants, like, okay, you have been a really nice child, I'm going to give you, I don't know, this much amount of money for free. Take it, don't say no. And then fools who will easily believe in you, or have reason to believe in you. Make them believe in you, and then invest in you. Now, you have exploited all these. You have exploited FFF, go to angel investors. Who are angel investors? These are rich people. They have dispensable income that they want to invest in companies and get higher rates of return. They will ask something in return though. They will ask equity in your company, and they might even ask for board of directors position. Negotiate with them. Negotiate and find a good spot for yourself. Then comes venture capital firms. In venture capital firms also, there are 3 different kinds. Early stage, mezzanine stage, and late stage. So if you're really early stage, you will have to go to an early stage investor. Or if you're really late stage, there might be other players who come in. Also with venture capital firms, they are area specific. For instance, we are a sustainable lifestyle brand, so we specifically have to look for venture capitalists who invest in that segment. They have expertise in that segment. Not necessarily that other venture capitalists might not be interested in you. There might be, for instance, a venture capital firm in London who invests only in fintech, but at the moment they are doing business expansion and want to go into sustainable businesses. So it is worthwhile to knock on every door. It is worthwhile to network heavily and find somebody who is giving you the friendliest of terms. Then comes bank loan. Banks typically loan to businesses that are a bit stable. As a startup, they find it really hard to invest because they are not guaranteed that the loan will be paid back. Typically, I think in India, they look for a business that's about 2 to 3 years old, or maybe 3 years old. After that, you can go for a bank loan. Good thing you never have to give them equity. You can just repay them and then get out. Uh, at a very later stage, private equity firms come in. As a startup, it's not super relevant. And if you are even bigger than that, then you can go for an initial public offering. Again, not really relevant in this horizon. All right. So this is typically, as I said, this is a revenue time curve. Typically in the valley of tears, you have angel investors who come and become angels and save you. As soon as you're out, there are probably venture capitalists who are willing to invest in you. But this gradation is not strict. You can also be in the net negative zone and have venture capital firm willing to invest in you if they see something in you. If they really see that you are a very awesome guy who will make this company super big and they know it, they have sensed it, they are going to put funds on you. And also at a later stage, you might still have angel investors who want to come in, who might give you really liberal terms of repayment and come in at a later stage. So though this discrimination is kind of like what people typically see, like angel investors come in the valley of tears and venture capital comes later, it's not strictly like that. Cool. So now you have decided that, okay, we have got all the markers. We are going to external investors. We are going to FFF. We are then going to angel investors, and then we are going to venture capitals. What do I need to do in preparation? This is the most important part, I think. Before you go to an investor, you need to fix your business model. This image here is a very simplistic business model. Here you have listed out everything. Who are your key partners in your business? What are your key activities? What products you are selling? Why should people buy your product? Who are your customers? Who are your suppliers? How much are you paying? How much are your outflows and inflows? But this is a really basic one. I think your business model is more likely to look like a booklet with different pages and different tables and stuff like that. In that business model, you also need to give your business vision and mission. Like, what do you want to do in 5 years? Why are you doing what you're doing? What is it that you see? All these things, like your competitor analysis or your market analysis, all those things you need to put in, like what makes everything that will make them believe that you're going to be big one day, basically. Then your company valuation. As a company, you have a market figure on yourself. Calculating them, that is quite, there are different methods to calculate that. Berkus method, First Chicago method, venture capital method, book value method. Of course, they are all mathematics. I'm not going to talk about it now. But you should know that there are different methods used in valuing companies. Now, why is it crucial that you do the right valuation? If you undervalue your company, your venture capital firm or your external financier is going to be super happy because they are going to grab a bigger share of your company for a smaller investment. But if you overvalue your company, then you are going to turn off a lot of external financiers because they are going to think like, yeah, this person doesn't even know how to value a company, is overvaluing what the person sees in his or her own company, so we are not going to invest. So it's very crucial that you do your valuation right and put the right figure on your company. Before you go to an investor, you should also remember that an investor does not just look at the business model and your valuation, but they also actively look at the team. And probably this is the most crucial part of the mix. Who are the co-founders? How competent are they? What is their education background? How networking are they? What is their interpersonal dynamics? Are the co-founders friends? Do they work well together? Do they complement each other skill-wise? All these things. They will see how individually you are capable. They will also see how as a team you are super capable. Do you need an extra co-founder? They might even say that, okay, we need an extra co-founder who has more business sense or more technical sense. You might have to get one then. They might also want to get rid of one of the co-founders. You never know. So the team is something that people don't talk about, but it is actually one of the most important things that venture capital firms look at. Now you have gone to a business investor and you have presented your business model, company valuation, and also you, when there is a team, and talk to them. What do you do after you go to an investor? After you go to an investor, there are two things that come into play. You have to make your term sheet. A term sheet is basically a sheet which basically enlists who is going to invest what, how is that payment terms going to be decided, how much share is going to them, how is the money going to be dispatched, how many board of directors position will go to them. all those technical details. I wouldn't discuss everything in detail here because term sheet itself is a big chapter, but I think it's enough to know that there's something called term sheet. Then there's also a shareholder agreement. Basically, these are agreements as to like, okay, in future, if we raise more financing, then what are your shares going to look like? How much voting right are you going to have? All those come in the shareholder agreement. Again, enough to know that it exists. You can figure out if you ever go to an investor, I think. All right, so I talked about all the three parts that we were going to discuss today, but I think any presentation on any startup is not enough without talking about the mistakes we make. Because honestly speaking, there's not really any rule book that you can follow when you're a startup. There's not any formula that will help you as a startup. Only your own mistakes will guide you. So your own book of mistakes is basically your own textbook. I just wanted to show kind of an evolutionary story for us. Beyond all glossy covers that we present, every brand has its own evolution story. And I just wanted to show how funnily we evolved, basically. So before the pandemic, we were really aiming high. We wanted to be another brand, actually, funnily, which is not even Dzukou. It was called Viveka. Viveka was supposed to be a really high-end well-being brand that focuses only on new materials. But of course, the pandemic hit. And then we were financially really badly hit. Our survival came into question and we had to be more pragmatic. For a brand like Viveka, it might take ages to take off. And we didn't have that kind of financing and power to go on. So we decided to do something simpler. And I had the most brilliant idea, which in retrospect doesn't look that brilliant. I thought that, yeah, why not sell bamboo notebooks? So we decided, okay, we are going to sell bamboo notebooks and we are going to innovatively name it as Panda Note because you know how pandas eat bamboo leaves and then it's a notebook, so it's going to be a Panda Note. It was really one of the biggest, dumbest ideas that I have ever had. Then we kind of like, yeah, Panda Note sounds lame. We are probably going to drop that. We're going to think of a better name. And we kind of brainstormed and then we thought that, yeah, we live in Northeast, so let's just pick something really snazzy from Northeast, you know? And like, I still remember we were 4 people in the team and then we couldn't come up with a name. Then I was like, yeah, you know what? One of my British friends went to Dzukou Valley and it's a really cool valley. Let's name it Dzukou. That's how we named our products. That's how we named our brand. None of us had ever been to Dzukou Valley. So we had this whole mind, we had said like we are going to sell notebooks and we are going to name it Dzukou and everything. Then we were like, yeah, why not sell even other stationery items like, you know, staplers and pins and all that and make it a whole stationery brand. And then we were all said like Dzukou is going to be a stationery brand. That's when one of my business school friends dropped by and he was like, dude, all stationery brands around the world are almost at the point of bankruptcy all the time. Why do you even aim to be a stationery brand? So we were like, okay, that doesn't sound very encouraging. So maybe we should diversify. So at the end, we kind of came to the idea that, okay, sustainability is more of a lifestyle matter. So we are going to be a sustainable lifestyle brand. Finally, we became this cool. But the journey was not this cool and not, I think no presentation is going to do justice if we don't talk about all the chains of failures we have done or funny things that we have done. And now that we are this cool, probably you will not guess that we wanted to be Panda Note at some point of time. All right. So important to also note that you will make a lot of bad decisions in a startup. You will make bad investments. You will make bad hiring decisions. Also, you will have bad investments. A whole consignment gets lost. Somebody sends you a whole consignment of damaged goods. All those things can happen in a business. You cannot run after suppliers. You cannot run after bad employees and throw lawsuits. It costs a lot too. So sometimes you have to just gulp in your costs, tell yourself that, okay, it was a good learning experience for us. It's a sunk cost. What is a sunk cost? Cost that you did not deliver anything. There's no point thinking about it anymore. So you might just as well forget about it. And in startups, you have to forget about a lot of costs, believe me. Then there are also happy accidents. So you think that there's a mishap, but actually it turns out to be a good thing. For instance, sometimes, recently this happened. We made a sale in US. It was quite an expensive product. And then the consignment was stuck in Dutch customs for over a month. And the lady was getting really impatient. She was probably from New York or something. I don't know. But yeah, she began to doubt whether we are even a credible brand. So she began to question us, like, do we know about Ukraine and Russia? So she tested us left and right on general knowledge. She was like, yeah, what do you think? How many refugees did Holland take in? And I literally had to spend all my days in my vacation answering all those questions, like how many refugees came to Holland, what is Russia doing, what is Ukraine doing, just to prove that we are knowledgeable people and our brand is not a fraud. So ultimately, I think customs cleared it and it reached her, and she was so super happy that we were all the time having this conversation with her. She gave us 5-star rating, talks about us here and there, and then I think she's also going to buy another product. So this is something of a happy accident. And as many as bad accidents you are going to have in a startup, you're also going to have happy accidents. So it's good to take it in the light note, everything basically. All right, so with that, I come to the end of my presentation. This is our website. I would really appreciate if you take a look at it and give us feedback, have any questions, like any products. We are always available to answer. All right, Pamir, I think yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prarthana. And this is so exciting. And I'm gonna say that this was so smoothly presented. I really loved, like, I didn't zone out for like a
Yeah.
single second. I was listening to the whole thing, which it's very rare with me. Like I have a habit of zoning out.
Yeah.
So yeah, and thank you so much for
Mhm.
this amazing talk. And I think I'll straightly go ahead with some of the questions that we have from the YouTube comments section. And I know that some of these questions were posted, like, in the first half of your talk. So you have dealt with some of the questions already in the later half, but, you can just, choose to either elaborate or just, quickly go over them.
Yeah.
So the first question is by Ramyani, and she's asking, what is your take on market research? Should it be a prolonged, one-time rigorous process before starting off, or should it be a continuous process but less rigorous?
I think before you start, it should be a good intensive market research, because I do remember I traveled to US, Germany, Holland, Belgium. I did market research everywhere, especially because I'm Indian. And though I have lived in these places, I wanted to know more in depth. And even in US, I have traveled to LA, SF, and New York. It was quite intensive. I think it's important to get your brand right in the beginning. Later, you can tone it down. You don't have to do this extensive of market research later. You can also count on secondary research on what you see on the internet, what blogs are talking about, what things are coming in web pages like TechCrunch or iExhibit and all that. You can also rely on secondary research later. But it's always good to talk firsthand with people. Right now, what happened is that I started my brand, and 2 years I was stuck in India because of the pandemic. Now that I go back to Holland, I don't recognize exactly what trends are going on. So I need to do a little bit of market research again. So it's an ongoing process, but in the beginning it's intensive. Later you can tone it down. Totally.
I see, that's interesting. And the second question I'm reading is from Hriday, and
Mhm.
he is asking, how difficult is it to manage a brand located in two different locations, two locations of the world, and how different is global branding from local branding?
Yes. Since we are located in places where both the co-founders are citizens, I am Indian and the co-founder is Dutch. It hasn't been that much of a problem. It has actually had more benefits than problems. For instance, sales are dull in India, we have sales in Europe. If sales are dull in Europe, then we have sales in India. It's actually nice and encouraging to have that. Also, you're talking about branding. Branding a global company and local company. I think it's way easier to brand a local company because you are dealing with one kind of people. People who relate to same kind of cultural elements, people who relate to same kind of price sensitivity and all that. But when you go cross-cultural, it's quite hard. And companies invest a lot in cross-cultural marketing. It's also a big area of research. To make products that are relatable cross-culturally is quite hard. So I would definitely say that global branding is harder, pays off more in the long run, but is harder for sure.
Okay, thank you. Ramyani has another question. She's asking, is the market in Western Europe sensitive to regional culture and language? And if yes, how do you tackle that?
Totally. West Europe is very sensitive to language. We have to have our language website in multiple languages. increases the complicacy of our language and marketing material a lot. We all the time have to hire translators and get all the text translated and cross-checked and everything. But a person from Germany, if he sees the website in Dutch, he's not going to buy it. You have to have a German website. A person from France is not going to buy it if the German text is there. So you need to make also a French version. Costs a lot that way. It's simpler in US where English is universal, UK English goes. But for most websites and also for e-com like Amazon, you have to have a German version, Dutch version, English version. West Europe has money, has also complications. There might also be things that you notice that being a Dutch company might hinder your sales in Germany, for instance, because they might be more pro-German brands. So in a way, you have to constantly show that you are a global brand, not necessarily a Dutch brand, to make them buy more. They are more willing to buy from KFC than a Dutch chicken company, for instance. So that way, it's a bit of a nationality sensitive kind of market.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think second question is somewhat related. Not the second, I mean the next question. And Sishir has asked, how do you identify the gap, and how do you tell your story is different and will make some difference in customer lifestyle?
For this, I think you need to do good competitor analysis. You need to see what all your competition companies are delivering, and then you have to be somebody else. For instance, we studied all the sustainable companies and also a lot of fashion brands. What we noticed is that either the sustainability companies had very low fashion component or the companies had very low sustainability components. So what we wanted to carefully balance in our brand language is that we are a fashion sustainability sort of brand. So using our products is not just sustainable, but it's also a nice show. I mean, our products are really nice looking and nice design and everything. So people also like to show them off a bit, or even our sunglasses. So that's how you do find the gap. Basically, you do a good competitor analysis, study all the companies who are working in the space and also related companies not exactly in the space. And then you find out what character is missing in them and then try to be that character, you know. For us, it worked.
Wow, that's great. And Prarthana, you'll be very happy with the next few comments, which are all praises. And so the next one is from Ashish Kalita, and he has said that very informative session. I have been a Dzukou customer. I was impressed with the hassle-free buying and payment platform, and the cooperation of the team in shipping my product to a remote location. So here is a really nice comment. Parishmita says, excellent session. Then Hriday, everyone is just, it's full of praises. Excellent session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I actually, Prarthana, if, I know we are over time, but I wanted to ask one last question from my side. That is, I wanted to know if someone who does not really have a background in either design or marketing or something, but they identify a few aspects maybe to which gives them a motivation to start maybe a local brand, like a small scale brand. Is there any kind of formal short-term training that they can get, or how does it work? Like, someone can't just go out and say, okay, today I've decided to start a company, and is there like any kind of formal training or courses? How does it work for a small scale brand?
Actually, to be honest, like I never had any formal background or education in design. And even in a PhD, you are basically thrown, PhD work is basically research work. It's not learning about design.
Exactly.
Good thing is that in design itself is easier than engineering design. Engineering design, you really need background, like tolerance, materials, and dimensioning.
I see.
Yes. But design is easier in the way that it's more of a, most famous designers in the world are actually not designers by profession. They became designers out of passion.
Right.
Similarly with architects. So it's a very wholesome process. The more experience you have of the world around you, the better you are going to be as a designer. Not necessarily the more books in design you have or the more degrees in design you have that you're going to be a better designer. So I would say somebody who wants to make a local brand without a background in design is totally possible, because I also don't have a background in design. And
Mm-hmm.
all you have to keep in mind is that design is a very wholesome process. You have to look at it in a wholesome way. You have to look at it as society, history, everything, culture, everything, because that's the difference between design and engineering. Engineering looks at a problem, finds a solution. Design looks at a problem and then looks everywhere around and sees what is going to be a best solution.
Right.
So that whole looking everywhere around, anybody can have.
Right.
It's not per se that only a designer has that mindset to look everywhere around. Actually, funnily, like I said, most famous designers are actually engineers by profession, or maybe something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
And yeah, thank you so much then. If anyone else has any question, please post it in the comments, or and if you think I have covered all the questions, then you can probably just keep posting comments later after we end this talk also.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Shall I stop sharing?
Yes, you can. Yeah, I'll ask the share if
Yeah,
we're ending the recording.
okay. I think you can stop streaming. Okay.